All righty. Good morning again. For those of you who just came in, hope everybody's doing well. We're going to be looking at asexual and sexual reproduction unit in Canvas. We're also going to do it as a Nearpod. So if you want to, while we're waiting for some more folks to come in, if you want to look at your Canvas page, CR for um, asexual and sexual reproduction. All right, I also mentioned that Friday, you're scheduled to do a meiosis quiz. So if you want to look over your vocabulary, so as we go through this, we'll also review those points as well. But be looking over your notes on meiosis and mitosis. I don't see you all tomorrow because of Shine. So just make sure that you spend some time looking over uh, your vocabulary and your notes. All righty. Almost everybody's here, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started. And again, I do appreciate y'all being on time. Appreciate it, appreciate it. That means gives us more time to get started. So let me do attendance right quick. Yes, Isabella's coming. Kishan is coming. All right, so go ahead and log into Canvas. And we'll do a quick look at that first, and then we'll do the Nearpod. Okay, I want to say that Isabella and Krishan are thinking about coming. They haven't logged in yet, but they're on the website. All right, let me. All right, good morning, Isabella. Just missed me marking you absent. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share. We're in Canvas. We are looking at the module. And actually, I'm going to go back one module, just like I said, to do a quick recap on meiosis. So let's do that. All right, so we've been talking about sexual reproduction in more specifically. And we have looked at meiosis being the process of creating the gametes that are responsible for reproduction. Okay. All right. So when you're looking down here to the bottom, when it says, I'm scrolling real quick down here, it says, what is the purpose of meiosis? The purpose of meiosis is to create cells with half the number of original chromosomes as the of the original cell. For us, it's 46. So each gamete is going to have 23. All right. Mitosis, we're going to remember that all the stages of mitosis happen twice. You still have to remember PMAT, which is, let me scroll back up here real quick, is prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase. Okay. So you also need to remember during our cell cycle that interphase is not part of mitosis or meiosis, but it is the preparation stage for these things to happen. So the chromosomes are getting ready. So the mitosis and meiosis are actually the stages of what the chromosomes are doing once they've been replicated, and how they are divided and separated into new cells. All right, so I want you to look at this diagram real quickly because sometimes it's kind of complicated to understand. So if you look at the first cell under mitosis, it says a diploid cell. And then actually in both cases, you have diploid cells. With meiosis, you have a copy of the chromosome. So we call those homologs. Again, I need you to keep up with your vocabulary. So hopefully you're taking notes somewhere. You keep making a list of all the vocabulary words. When you take the test, the thing that will help you most is to have a list of the vocabulary words so that you know what the question is asking you. All right, so I want you to notice the difference between them. So in the first stage, they have homologs are the ones that look alike. So we've got one green one and one red one in mitosis that is long, and one green and one red that is short in the mitosis. In the meiosis, you have pairs of green ones and red ones. And if you look down at mitosis, the next stage is for them to line up in the middle. So again, remember, middle is my metaphase, middle. So all of the chromosomes are lined up in the middle, but notice the red ones are still together and the green ones are still together. And then if you look at the way it's divided in, so everything that you see in the first column is happening all in one phase. What they've shown you in the meiosis one is kind of a shortcut. So when you get to the end of this first one, then it's like you start over again with meiosis. Okay? So we've created two new cells with mitosis, and the two new cells at the bottom look like exactly like the one at the top. Okay? With meiosis, the chromosomes pairs have lined up with each other, but we're not pulling them apart. So when the cell divides in two, those pairs stay together. So our red one is staying, our two red ones, all you've done is what we call switch them up. We got one from the mother, one from the father. So let's say the green is from the father, the red is from the mother. So in your two cells that are formed at the first stage, you have one red one and one green one in each of those two cells. Then, while they're still connected to the pairs at that point, then the next stage is those two pairs are going to separate. So when you notice where they're double in meiosis, they're single. By the time you get to gametes, they're single. So we're back to having one red, one green. So it's half the number as you see in mitosis. Mitosis had two reds, two greens. Now we have one red, one green in each cell. Okay, and you're going to create 4 of those. okay? Because each of those two cells that were formed are going to divide and create two more cells. So we end up with four. With the male, we end up with four equal sized cells, and those are sperm cells. With the female, we end up with one large and four little ones that usually disintegrate and go away, but most of the information is put into one large cell. All right, so now notice what they have where it says gametes. You have one red and one, this one looks blue. It should have been green. And then one red and one green for the egg cell. And then when the sperm fertilizes the egg cell, your zygote now has, it looks just like the one at the end of mitosis. It now has four chromosomes, but notice they look different. Okay, it's not exactly, so I guess that's the reason for the blue, to indicate that it's not exactly, it's not identical to the parent cell that it started from. Okay, so this is where we get our variation. Let's look at our review here. Again, notice, know your words, haploid and diploid. I know that humans have 46 chromosomes or 23 pairs. And your body cells are your somatic cells. Okay, so the somatic cells are the ones that will have a full set of chromosomes all the time. Gametes are your egg cell and your sperm cell, and they will always have half the number of chromosomes. So they are haploid. All right, so again, make sure that you're connecting those vocabulary words and those numbers. Then we have this word down here, non-disjunction. So suppose all this separation doesn't go right. We want the separation to go right, but sometimes it doesn't. The word for that is non-disjunction. Okay, and then non-disjunction leads to birth defects, and some of the ones that are most familiar are trisomy and monosomy. So some of the ones that you might have heard for trisomy are Down syndrome. So with Down syndrome, you're supposed to have, well, we're supposed to have 23 chromosomes, but you have 21 in 21 pairs instead of 23 pairs. With Klinefelter syndrome, those affect your gametes. So the gametes didn't, for a male, it's supposed to be XY, and for a female, it's supposed to be XX. But for some reason, it did not separate the way it was supposed to. So the extra X, or the two X's stayed together and then joined up with the Y. And so we have three. So again, trisomy, we have three chromosomes. So we're actually missing one. So it's 23 pairs, but they didn't separate the way they were supposed to. The one at the bottom for Turner syndrome, that zero is not a chromosome. That really means no chromosome. So in that particular cell, it only got one. Instead of getting an XX or an X and an XY, it got just the X. And so it's missing a chromosome. So these are some of the defects that can happen as a result of non-disjunction. If this process of pulling the pairs apart and then reuniting doesn't work well, it's called non-disjunction. All right. Those videos are not my favorite ones, but you can watch them on your own if you like. But again, make sure that you review these questions. And let's look at this review real quick before we go on. Okay. Alrighty. And you can type an answer for me in the chat. If an organism's haploid number of chromosomes is 10, what is its diploid number? 20. Thank you. So if haploid is 10, double is going to be 20. So let's do that. All right, next one. Which of the following describes the products? I mean, what the end result of meiosis? What is the end result of meiosis? Again, type in the chat for me. And sometimes y'all could just unmute if you want to. It's faster. Thank you, Natalie. 4 haploid cells. Yes, indeed. And again, the female is going to make 4 haploid cells. It's just that they only use one of them, whereas the male uses all 4. All right, oogenesis. So remember, oogenesis and spermatogenesis produces how many viable cells, and spermatogenesis produces how many viable cells. So it's kind of like what I just said, 1 and 4. So oogenesis is the creating of the egg cell, and it's going to produce, when they say viable, one that's actually going to work. And then the spermatogenesis is producing the sperm cells, and you're going to produce 4 that actually work, viable. All right. During meiosis, where do you see crossover? So, and this only happens in meiosis, where part of the chromosome on one is going to switch places with another segment of the other ones. This is what we call crossover. When is that going to happen? Remember your PMAT. Okay, so it's going to happen at the beginning. Good job. Thank you. All right. Which is the following best describes a tetrad? Okay, they are homologous chromosomes. Okay, and that was like the picture we saw at the top where they're still connected to each other. And again, homologous chromosome. Again, a homologous chromosomes means that that particular, we're going to look later on as we go through genetics, that when you can map your chromosomes, and each set of chromosomes codes for different characteristics. So one set might have to do with your height. And so both genes, the height chromosome from mom and the height chromosome from dad, are going to pair up, and those are homologous. The chromosomes for eye color are going to pair up, and those are homologous. They don't have to be the same. One could be tall, one could be short, but they're for that particular trait. So that's what makes them homologous. All righty. Again, homologous pairs separate during meiosis, which one? And sister chromatids separate during meiosis, in which phase? Okay. All right. Malik says it's the third one. Let's see if that's correct. No, that's not right. It's 1 and 2. There we go. So homologous pairs are going to separate during meiosis one. That's the first phase. And then those sister chromatids are going to separate during meiosis two. Okay. All right. In this phase, the nuclear membrane reappears and is there for a brief resting period before the next division. All right. This one is going to be telophase because that's, and I think one of the videos we watched said that there really isn't a second interphase. You'll have interphase at the beginning, but the resting phase that happens between meiosis one and meiosis two is not considered interphase. So it happens just briefly. All right, non-disjunction. What do you think? All are true. Come on. Mine won't submit. But yes, all are true. You can have too few or too many chromosomes in the egg or the sperm. This is the cause of genetic disorders, and it does happen when the chromatids don't separate like they're supposed to. So that's true. I don't know why mine won't. Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. Okay. So what we're going to do right now is look at the Nearpod. So let me give you that code. Okay. Oops. Did I not send it to everybody? I did not. There we go. All right, there we go. So that's sent it to everybody. And I'll give you all a few minutes to log in. Again, participation is important. There are segments that you have to respond. It does give me a report of your responses, and I use that for participation grades. And when I say participate, there's an actual participation grade that sometimes you need a extra bonus here and there. That's when these come into play. All righty. Okay. All right. So this one, um, so basically you can say that while mitosis is cell division, it is a type of reproduction that does not require any other cells. The one cell just divides in two, so that's going to be considered asexual. And then sexual reproduction always requires two cells creating one. Okay, so that's where what we're looking at today. All right, hopefully everybody's logged in. All right, so everybody should be ready to, let me see if all y'all are in or not. Yeah, okay. All right, so take a minute to answer the question, please. Based on the image at the top, and let me see if I can. Based on this image, so you've got an offspring. Now I can't see the question. This is based on the image. Which of the parents did the offspring come from? And remember why you chose your, because they're going to ask you on the next slide to explain why you picked that one. So the top organism is the offspring. And based on their characteristics that you see, and I'm probably answering your next question, which parent did you pick? Okay. All right, so let's see where. All right, everybody, except we've got two people who have not answered the question. Thank you. All right, so everybody seems to be picking D. So on the next slide, Ariana, please pick D. All right, so over here, you get to explain why your reasoning for picking D. Mine is taking its sweet time about coming up, but go ahead and explain why you picked D. It didn't let you click. Do I need to go back? Okay, hold on. Are you all able to go back or you have to pace with me? Okay, there we go. Okay, so if I don't go back, you can't go back. All right, so here we are. Here we are. So think about the reason why you selected D and post it here, please. And I'll give you a few minutes to do that. And I'm going to wait a few minutes before I approve them so that everybody's not looking at everybody else's answers. So I need everybody. I need 7 answers. 7 people present, 7 answers should pop up. And then I'll approve them so that we can look at why you said what you said. All right, got 4 answers, missing 3 people. There we go. Missing 1. Who are we missing? Okay, so the offspring, different characteristics. I picked D because both parents in D have white eyes, is black tail. Okay, somebody hasn't posted. Who hasn't posted? I got Piper. Okay, there we go. Thank you. Mm, okay. All right. Don't take the time to research answers. I'm going to go back so we can look at this. But yes, because that doesn't help. Uh-oh, hold on. Let me come out of that. All right, so let's look at this guy again. All right, so we all picked D. So what we're really looking at is all the characteristics that the offspring has. They have white eyes, both of the parents and D have white eyes. They have brown bodies, but the offspring has green arms. The only way it could have green arms is if it had the body parts from parent D. They both seem to have a little black tail, and that they got from one of those parents as well. So that one, so the others, while C does have a green body, they don't have white eyes. So um, both parents are giving the white eyes in D. So that's what makes the difference between D and C. So that's how you have to look at it. What characteristics are showing up that had to come from the existing parents? All right. So that's how you wanted to answer that question. And folks, I just need you to follow. I don't need you to take a minute to go look up an answer. Just based on what you know, answer the question. All right, so take a note, vocabulary word. It says, what is heredity? So you need to know that heredity is the passing on of genetic traits from one generation to the next. That's the definition. All right, the information is passed from the parent to the offspring by reproduction. Reproduction is a characteristic of all living things. Earlier in the year, we did Miss Grin, and we looked at the 7 things that all living things have to do. Reproduce is one of them. All right, the organism can reproduce in 2 ways. And then you need to know the difference between asexual and sexual. So asexual reproduction forms new organisms from one single parent cell. Now, again, mitosis for us is not reproduction per se. That's just how we grow and we heal, that sort of thing. So for us, humans reproduce sexually because we cannot create a new organism without two cells. Okay? But there are organisms that simply just divide their material, and that is those new cells are the whole organism. Okay? But that's not us. All right. So when we go back to Canvas, we'll look some more at the advantages and disadvantages of sexual and asexual reproduction. In the meantime, we're going to watch the Amoeba Sisters. And I'm going, hold on one second. Can you hear this?
When I was 6 years old, I went through a phase where I was really into plants. My sister never really went through a plant phase, although to be fair, she was also 2 years old at the time, so she was kind of into everything. I wanted to have a lot of plants where I could water them and take care of them.
It's slow. Okay.
Skills were
All right, hold on one second. All right, give me a minute to stop sharing, and then I'll share back in a minute as soon as I turn on that volume. Okay, should be better.
When I was 6 years old, I went through a phase where I was really into plants. My sister never really went through a plant phase, although to be fair, she was also 2 years old at the time, so she was kind of into everything. I wanted to have a lot of plants where I could water them and take care of them, but my plant caring skills were not so great, so only some plants were safe. A cactus, perhaps. But you get sick of cacti. One day it so happened my dad brought home a spider plant. And as usual, the way I imagined a spider plant turned out to not exactly be what a spider plant was, but I was also very happy it wasn't a cactus. Take really good care of this spider plant and it will have little baby plants, my dad said. Then you can plant the plantlets and they'll grow into new spider plants too. It'll be fun, he said. Now let's just say I think my dad may have underestimated my dedication with this. Spider plants reproduce by making new, identical baby spider plantlets. The baby plants are genetically identical to the parent plant, meaning they contain the same DNA, a clone basically. You can plant the plantlets and ta-da, new spider plant. As a kid, I didn't realize that what I was seeing at the time was asexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction requires only one organism and results in offspring that are genetically identical, uniform, no genetic variety. And many times there can be an advantage that this can be efficient and fast, since only one organism is involved. Asexual reproduction also occurs with very simple organisms, like bacteria. These prokaryotes literally split into two in a process known as binary fission. Many single-celled eukaryotic organisms, like many protists, can do this too.
All right, so that's a vocabulary word that you need to be aware of. Binary fission, and fission means divide. Binary is two, so one cell divides and forms two cells, but they're identical.
Another type of asexual reproduction that starts with B is budding. A very small, amazing animal called the hydra can reproduce by budding. That means they literally just bud an identical offspring right off of themselves. It falls off and grows into a new hydra.
All right, so that's another one. Again, you should be taking notes. Budding, and it's still asexual reproduction. And again, it sounds just like a flower. Part of the organism creates a part that extends from itself, and then eventually that piece drops off and lives independently. So that's budding.
So in the spider plant example, this was asexual reproduction. But it's important to realize that not all plants can reproduce asexually. In fact, spider plants themselves can reproduce another way. Spider plants and many other plants can undergo sexual reproduction. In fact, lots of organisms can. Some fungi and some protists, many plants, many animals. Sexual reproduction involves the uniting of gametes, which are reproductive cells, to make a new organism. If you're talking about animals, typically these gametes would be known as a sperm cell from the male organism and an egg cell from the female organism. Gametes typically have half the number of chromosomes as a somatic cell. So in humans, sperm and egg cells each have 23 chromosomes. When they combine, they can produce a new cell, a fertilized egg known as a zygote, which would then have 46 chromosomes. This fertilized egg can continue to divide to make more cells and more cells. Oh, look! This fertilized human egg cell is a blastocyst now. Yeah, it'll keep dividing from there. Now, while that was an example of gametes uniting to make a new human, realize that all new organisms that result from sexual reproduction have the potential to be genetically diverse. In sexual reproduction, the offspring are not clones. They receive genetic information from their two different parents. And gametes themselves tend to be different from each other due to independent assortment and crossing over, which both happen when the gametes are made in a process called meiosis. Check out our meiosis video for more about that. So the gametes are different from each other, and they combine to make a unique organism. Now, sexual reproduction can be more time-consuming because it does require two gametes finding each other and uniting. A little more complicated than asexual reproduction when, in many cases, you can just split. So then what is the benefit in sexual reproduction, and why could this even matter? Well, different genes can mean different expressed traits, and different expressed traits could be beneficial in the case of environmental changes. Let's consider these grasshoppers. Let's say the vegetation present changes due to a dry season, and now some colors of grasshoppers have better advantages than others in blending in, which means perhaps better advantages from hiding from predators. Those grasshoppers with the advantage potentially could have higher fitness. But see, that variation is present in the first place because of sexual reproduction. There are definite benefits that come with variety. Well, that's it for the Amoeba Sisters, and we remind you to stay curious.
Okay. You guys have seen spider plants before, right? I have a lot of plants, and I was trying to show you, but the ones I have, I just recently took the extended piece off and I replanted them on all of mine. So I can't show you how it creates the little mini plant, but it has roots and everything so that you can just break that off, plant it, and it's created a new plant. And spider plants are neat like that. They just create their own little offspring. All right, so right here, nice of you to join us, Kashawn. Let me send you the link. So go ahead and answer this question. All right, and Kashawn, when you get in, we're on slide 11. All right, while you all answer that, I'm going to stop sharing so I can adjust attendance. But again, I need an answer from everybody. So the question is, what are everybody should be working on a question. All right. Okay. Okay. Ariana, when I'm looking, and Malik, I'm not seeing y'all answering the question. Everybody should be on the page in the Nearpod and trying to answer the question. Yeah, but when I'm looking at you on Go Guardian, it doesn't show that you're on the Nearpod. It just shows me. I shouldn't be looking at me. I should be looking at least, okay, now it shows. Thank you. Ariana, what about you? It doesn't show that you're in the Nearpod. Thank you. All right, give a minute for everybody to answer the question. And again, I don't need you to Google the question. I need you to answer the question based on what we just saw. Okay, I'm back to sharing. Google the question. I have 3 answers. I'm going to 5. And again, keep in mind that we are preparing ourselves for a test on Friday. So it's important to know what is the advantage of, and we had our 2 um, budding and binary fission. What's the advantage of that as opposed to sexual reproduction, which needs an egg and a sperm? All right, waiting on 2 more answers. All right, I'm going to go ahead and post the ones I got. I'm still waiting on the other ones. All right, so is more efficient, takes less time to only, okay, that's a good answer, Malik. Sexual reproduction takes longer due to gametes. Okay, that's almost the same. All right, so everybody's saying basically the same, that the disadvantage. Thank you, Natalie, to you adding that piece on there, that there's no genetic diversity. So the cells are the same. They use the term clone. All right, clone means that the cells are exactly the same. The new organism is exactly like the parent organism. With sexual reproduction, they are not clones. So there's always some type of difference due to she mentioned the 2 things, due to crossing over and what was the other? I forget. It was on the tip of my tongue. Crossing over and was the other one where they just didn't, where they just switched places. All right, let's see here. Still missing somebody. Okay, so who we missing? Kashawn, missing you. Okay. Yeah, I wish I could have shown you my plant, but I have 3 plants like that, and for each of them just this weekend, I took the smaller extension off and repotted it so that it could grow a new plant. All right, let's continue. Because Sean, I need you to get on and answer some of these questions. I'm going to move on, so you probably can't answer it now, but I need you to participate. All right, asexual reproduction is a type of reproduction that forms new organisms from one single parent. Okay. All right, hold on. Then that means it'll be there. Where did my screen go? My computer's slow. There it is. Thank you. Gotcha. Okay. All right, so we're looking at the advantages and disadvantages here. All right, so asexual reproduction, remember we have binary fission, budding, and regeneration. So like you've seen lizards that they lose their tail and they grow their tail back. Okay, so that's body part. So when you regenerate, you're recreating a missing part. Budding actually creates a whole new organism. So that's the difference between those two. All right, one parent is only needed for that. So one parent makes two, and the population grows quickly. Um, the disadvantages, there's a lack of diversity. I mean, every cell looks exactly like the previous cell, which means that and you keep repeating the same division over and over again, eventually some of the genes get weak, and this is where the mutations come in. All right, with sexual reproduction, there is variety, diversity, and the organisms can more easily adapt. So if you are getting maybe a stronger gene or chromosome from another parent, it kind of balances out maybe the weak gene that you had. So this is where diversity is helpful. The disadvantage is this takes time. You do need two. And so if you never have the union of egg and sperm, then there is no reproduction. So that is the disadvantage to that. All right, take a few minutes. It says select an organism of your interest and research it. So take a few minutes to do this. Research and see if that organism undergoes sexual or asexual reproduction and describe what type of why that type of reproduction is for the advantage of that organism. So everybody take the next 10 minutes, pick an organism, any organism you like, look it up. So this one you do need to Google, and then post the name of your organism, type of reproduction it does, and why this type of reproduction is an advantage to that organism. It can be a plant or an animal. So keep that in mind. When we say organisms, it can be a plant or an animal. All right, I do want to share this before we go. So again, next 10 minutes. Also, since we won't finish this nearby before, and because I don't see you tomorrow, we'll put that quiz off till next week, and we'll finish this nearby. We're only on slide 13 or 30. So I'm gonna stop sharing for a minute, change the date on that quiz. Just a few more minutes, please. So remember, that's three questions you have. So you have an organism, you have to name what type of reproduction they carry out and why is this, and type of reproduction cats might have to do with their environment or might have something to do with some of the things that we just talked about as far as characteristics is concerned. Still got three of you that haven't posted an answer, but I'm going to go ahead and start with Isabella. But you still got a few minutes to post an answer, please. All right. So Isabella chose fungi. They reproduce both sexually and asexually. Perfect fungi reproduce both sexually, while imperfect only produce asexually. Um, and I guess I should have asked you all to explain what that means. So sexually, obviously, means that they create both egg and sperm. But in this case, how would they, what type of asexual? Remember, we have different types of asexual reproduction. So it would be helpful for you to add which one they are doing. Okay. All right. So we can get different types of fungi, like mushrooms are fungi. And exactly. So again, I should have been more specific about when you talk about asexual reproduction, include the ones that the type of asexual reproduction. All right, Maxwell, still need one from you. Thank you, Sean. All right, seals. Okay. They reproduce sexually. A certain advantage, like their pups will be able to adapt to their environment. That's good. Mothers able to take care of them, nurse them. Process continues and they create large community of seals and can be protected from their predators. I like that answer. Thank you much, Piper. All right, Malik. Searched grass. Okay. Grass does both asexual and sexual. That's what I wanted you to say. Vegetative propagation. That's the type of asexual reproduction. And then again, sexual reproduction, you have seeds. Okay. Seeds have the egg inside and then they have to be fertilized. The advantage of both is they reproduce at extreme rates. All right. Thank you. Good answer, Malik. Thank you. Thank you. All right, there we go. Spider lily. The plant undergoes both sexually. The plant can reproduce new plant. Yeah, again, I wish I had not separated mine because I could have shown you exactly what we're talking about. All right, maybe I can just hold this. Three of these plants lying around. I don't know how well you can see my spider plant. This is a spider plant. And then one of its branches grows like this. I don't know. The camera kind of goes wacky, wacky. And eventually it creates a little piece that I can take off like this one. Not really seeing. There we go. No, yes. Okay. And this one has roots. And so I can take this one and just stick it in the soil and it'll grow a whole new plant. Okay. But it creates these runners, these propagated runners. And all of these little ones on here are going to grow their own set of roots. And I can take each one of these off and grow a whole new plant with this. Okay. Oops. A whole garden in my house because I like plants. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Zyla. Like the term vegetative propagation. All right. By now, Maxwell and Krishan, you should have had an answer up there. All right. We're going to keep spider snakes. Reproduce asexually. Okay. All righty. I guess I have to refresh my screen, so I'll do that. Thank you. Okay, they employ internal sexual reproduction. They make eggs. They actually do lay eggs. Okay. And then, okay. Well, I like all these vocabulary words. All righty. All right, let's see. I'm going to refresh because Sean's answer actually should be up there. Why are you doing that? Okay, there we go. Back to you. Well, that didn't help. Mhm. All right, you can still answer. All right, Natalie chose a cat. Okay. Alrighty. Increases the chance of adaptations and resistance to disease. That's a good reason for um, sexual reproduction. That's a good answer. Okay. All right. Because Sean wanted to talk about wolves. For some reason, it's not up there. Maxwell, what would you have picked? Wolves reproduce sexually. They are mammals. All right. Okay, so um, we're not going to have time to do this one, so I'm going to go ahead and stop it here. But this is where we'll pick up on Friday when I see you Friday. So you all enjoy your shine activities tomorrow, and I'll see you then. I thought about driving all the way because that's a 2-hour drive for me, but then would have to be back too soon because I have to pick up my daughter from work. So that would be kind of a big trip for me. But next time, if I can do something like that, next time I'll plan in advance, maybe so I can come out and meet you guys. But like I said, it's a 2-hour drive for me. So I hope you have a really pleasant day. The sun is shining like it is today, and you enjoy all the activities.